How did you start listening to that voice first and then realizing that this was the right one?
Yeah, that's a fascinating conversation. Discernment between intuition and the fear story that keeps us going towards something. Fascinating question. It still shows up. In this particular case, I was walking back to my dorm room from classes, and I was in such a negative headspace because I was simply, I had lost the will to show up in a way that felt meaningful for me to succeed in my courses. Like I had essentially burnt out. There was no more gas in the tank.
Right.
And when there's no more gas in the tank, that's a really interesting awareness, because when we align from purpose, and I'll come back to that moment in more clarity, when we
Mhm.
align to that purpose, it's not about gas in the tank. To me, it's there's something transcendent that is fueling the experience and the willingness to take one step after the other. So having discovered more of that, and there's still more for me to discover, I know there's a difference between when we burn out and there's this dissatisfaction that's showing up. The question is this the path? Is this what's serving and fulfilling my highest purpose?
When you were
Hmm?
feeling that way, did you already have you had like thoughts of like I'm young, but then this is the path I chosen and I've already failed. Like,
Mhm. Yeah, well, that's a very interesting experience because I felt like I had never let myself fail at
mm,
anything.
mm,
And that's exciting and scary. I remember feeling very, because I was conceptualizing the possibility that I don't succeed at getting my master's degree. And that's what I had set out to do. And I had thought to myself, well, I've never really let myself fail. I've always played it safe enough and stuck with things that I could succeed at. And that was a really interesting concept to me at the time, to allow myself to fail. And that was really the significant shift in the experience for me, was permission. Permission.
permission.
And
That's a
the,
beautiful
the
word. I think
absolutely.
I'd love to stop here for a second because
Hmm.
you said that word and permission to fail. I think it's one of the very rare situations where I believe right now young men um, are unable to connect with that word, like permitting themselves to fail and to start over and feeling this anxiousness in their lives and be like, I need to, get it going. I need to succeed. And and I've experienced this more and more when I connect with younger men in my coaching business right now. And I see that, and every time I say that accept and permit, these words seem foreign to younger men. And I'm very glad that you've said it because I'd love for you to share something connected to that permission, where, from your perspective, obviously, what would be the biggest takeaway point for younger men to realizing how much value and power there is in permitting yourself to fail, learn from that, obviously, and renew and grow in the different direction or pivot or however they'd like to rediscover the life.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what I feel what you did.
Looking back at this and contextualizing my experience, from the lens of being a healer, of being a coach, one of the most valuable things is how can I, through my experience and the wisdom gained through living my life, meet somebody where they are or be close to where they are so that the guidance or the space there is inviting the next step. And so when I look back to that version of myself and really tune into the permission, I also have to acknowledge some other substantial shifts that had happened for me around that. Namely, losing my mother. She passed away when I was 21, 22, 22. So this was about a year after my mother passed away. And looking through this lens is that in the interior world, our interior experience, what we do is what I did was I internalized my mother. I was an engineer not because I wanted to be. It was because I was going to make my parents proud. I was going to be this status symbol in society. I was going to make income. And all of that was one, protection, layers of armor between my ego state and my authenticity. The permission came when I was walking back and I realized I was in this headspace, being so downtrodden with my current experience at university. And I looked over to the football field, the soccer field, the football field, and a significant shift. There's a lot of things happening right now. So one, I went from looking down tunnel vision to up in space.
Would you be able
That
to zoom out on the perspective?
the Buddhists call that satori. There's a moment there
Mm.
where you look up into space or into nature, it clears the mind. And what I also saw was there was significance to seeing that specific thing, that field, because in my discontent with my studies, I had taken that energy and created a fitness community in this school in France because they didn't have it. And I wanted to do boot camp. I wanted people to run with. I wanted people to do the things that I had discovered recently in my life that I had a passion for. And I loved leading that. And so when I went from this tunnel vision and this heaviness to up and over and lightness to this is something I really like to do. That's the moment the cord broke. There was a rip in my experience, a tear in the fabric that I realized, well, I could do that. I could give my life to that, whatever that is. And I feel like the thing that stops permission is the part of us, it's the safety part of us that needs to have it all figured out. In that moment, I didn't need to have anything figured out other than that is light and right. Leading group fitness for me at the time felt right.